Hey everybody, welcome on into the Delmarva Sports Insider, the only live and local show dedicated to giving you all local sports all the time. I am Sports Director Brandon Bosser.
And what is up, everyone? It's yours truly, Devin J. Martin. Welcome into the show. We got a lot to get into tonight, Brandon.
Yeah, tonight it's officially the end of the 2021-22 basketball season for us.
And a disappointing end to all of our local teams' quest to bring the state title across the Bay Bridge. So first, let's start with the Tribe from Y High. All the marbles on the line, Brandon, coming up just short of an appearance in the state finals.
Yeah, Y High, the last team remaining from the Bay side, but their season ending in Silver Spring in the state semifinal. Let's get to that game. The number 1 seeded Y High Tribe facing 4th seeded Frederick Douglass Eagles from Upper Marlboro. Now the Tribe just one win away from a trip to College Park in this one. It was a tight game early on. We see B.J. Cook here pulling up. That shot misses, but he swings it out to Jalen DeShiel Andrews, letting it fly from the corner and knocking that one down. And then Cook ISOing from the top here. Pull-up 3 is good. Early in the first, Tribe led 10-6. But the Eagles, Mekhi Morris responding with a tray ball of his own. After the first, the Eagles were up 19-6.
But the second quarter, Brandon, is where things blew wide open. You're going to see right here, they get the rebound, and Jace Freeman receives the outlet pass and laying it in, making the score 23-20. But this is where things went bad for the Tribe.
That point.
Look at this. The exclamation point. What a putback dunk by Aaron Keels, adding insult to injury. I mean, Look at the celebration. It's just not good. It's not going to be a Tribe right there. And from this point on, the Eagles demolished the Tribe, going on a 19-0 run and never looking back. I think that dunk was kind of just the momentum killer for the Tribe. And after the halftime, the Tribe never pulled within 15 points, and then they just ran out of gas. Costly turnovers, 13 missed free throws in this game. The team's biggest 2 issues on the year, and they both came back to rear its ugly head that night, ending their season in the semifinals. Head coach Butch Waller told us after the game how proud he was of his boys despite the finish.
They gave us everything they had. They weren't the most skilled guys I got, but one of the most pleasurable teams I've ever had. We just ran into a better team. There's no ifs and buts about it. They're just better. I'm proud of these kids. It'll be 23. That ends up 23-2. When the season started, we were picked to end up 5th in our conference. We ended up winning it all. So, all in all, good year. Just a bad way to have to end it. But, you know, to the winner goes the spoils. And Douglas was better than we were tonight.
Hey, you said it right there. They just ran into a better team. And you know what? With Y High, eventually, we knew that they were going to run into a team like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it in the VO, Devin. Their 2 biggest weaknesses this year they were unable to overcome to win in this game, and those are the free throws and the turnovers that we saw. But you know what? You got to give a lot of credit to this team. They took us on a great ride.
Sure did.
The first team to ever win 4 straight conference titles. The first team to ever win 4 straight Bayside championship games. 23-2, just like Butch Waller said. Yeah. I mean, this team, they came together cohesively. They didn't have as many players at tryouts as they're used to.
Right.
Butch was telling me they've had 110 guys at some tryouts in years past. They had 19 this year.
And
absolutely unbelievable.
Also the guys that left 2 years ago when the COVID season when COVID canceled their season. So that's also another thing.
Yeah, they lost Antoine Wilson, Jason Handy, and Taiwan Hardy. 3 of the best players on the Eastern Shore, and they're still able to get to the Final Four.
Right, and that's why, even though they're 23-2, as you mentioned, that's something that, at face value, they lost, but their team didn't fail, and they blew past expectations because Coach Waller also told us that preseason expectations were them to not even be a team in the top 4 of the Bayside, and instead they demolished every single team they faced on the Eastern Shore except one team, and they beat everyone else in front of them until they faced a team that they got outmatched.
Yeah, and you know what? We didn't have a Bayside year last year. I think that Y High having Butch Waller in his 56th year as head coach really helped Y High this year because we didn't see any real dominant teams in the Bayside this year. There was nobody that really could compete with Y High other than maybe Bennett, who did beat them in overtime, but it took 42 turnovers in that game for Bennett to win in overtime.
And with those turnovers, they still could have won, but Y High missed 7 of their last 8 free throws.
Right, exactly. All right, let's move on now to Cambridge South Dorchester.
Okay, yep, and that's another Bayside team whose seasons ended at the state's Final Four. As you mentioned, the Vikings. The Vikings were in the state's Final Four for the first time in a decade, and they had a tall task ahead of them, taking on the top seed in the 1A brackets, Brandon, the Lake Clifton Lakers. But they were overwhelmed. This game was tight early on.
Two-time champion Lake Clifton.
Wow, and just they were over. It's just the fact that they made it this far is such an accomplishment. You see the pass between 2 defenders to Dario Belizaire, and it doesn't matter. He knocks down the corner 3 and more from the Vikings. The ball finds Anthony Stanley right here, and he's gonna bank it home. And the Vikings were keeping pace in this game with a top seed.
Yeah, and Stanley, he's going to be a good player next year for the Vikings.
Sure is. And how about Darren Belizaire? This long step back J. It's good. This is one of the toughest shots in the game, but this is where everything turned on a dime.
Yeah, that's right. From that point on, it was all Lake Clifton in the first half. Literally, the Lakers could not be stopped in this one. Number 21, Clinton Moore, was a driving force, finishing with 25 points. And it was a 25-0 run. This was 15-12 at one point. And then Lake Clifton goes on a 25-0 run to make it 40-12, and that was it. They shut down Cambridge's title aspirations.
Got regional champs. We haven't done that since 2006. So I know they're a little down right now, but they don't, when you're in the moment, they don't, understand it. Us adults, we understand it. That's a big deal. It'll sink into them later.
Feels good, but it sucks that we didn't finish it off. But I was grateful just to be in the top 4. A lot of people can't say that.
It's a blessing to make it this far. It's no other team that I'd rather do it with, honestly. A lot of things we got to fix, but a lot of things we have fixed that we didn't have altogether in the beginning. I like to see progress. I like the progress that I've seen with my whole team and with myself, with the help of my coach and my players.
Man, we saw it in this game. Dario Belizaire, such a great senior leader for this team.
That's right.
You know what? It's not a surprise that Cambridge was able to make it out of the Bayside North, having Dario as the leader on this team. I'm really going to miss seeing him with the Vikings football and their basketball teams. This is a big season for Cambridge. Yep. They made it to the state semis for the first time in well over a decade. Hats off to Marty Bailey's boys, because this was a great accomplishment. And you know
Very
what?
Impressive.
Keep your heads up, because losing to Lake Clifton, that Baltimore team that just won their 3rd straight 1A title today, there's no reason to be down about yourselves about losing to Lake Clifton.
And I think any of the players or their families who are listening to that message won't like it right now, but in the long run, when you actually, think about it and all the things that they had to fight through to get to this point, that is something they should be proud of, especially being a regional champion.
And Marty Bailey actually addressed that during the post-game conference when he said, us adults, we can put it into perspective.
Yep.
We understand what's going on here. The kids, this is going to stick with them for a pretty long time, but they have no reason to be down about themselves.
They shouldn't. And they were very impressive with their poise and their tenacity, especially in the regional championship game and their state quarterfinals game. You're seeing some of those highlights on your screen. They showed a lot of heart, and they faced Pocomoke, their regional final opponent, with only 7 of their at least a dozen players active. They had no depth, running on fumes, and they secured the regional title. And as Dario Belizaire told me, who else is really doing that?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? You mentioned Pocomoke. They're going to be another up-and-coming team next year in the 1A. So that the Bayside is in a good place right now, because we've got a lot of good young talent coming up.
It sure is. And I think it's just a transition year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to Delaware now.
And now in Delaware State's Final Four, one of those teams were from the Henlopen.
Yeah, that's right. The Seaford Blue Jays meeting their destinies out at the Bob Carpenter Center up in Newark. The 10th seeded Seaford Blue Jays, the 3 seed Tower Hill Hillers. Seaford won this matchup in the regular season, but you know what? They open up the game with a bucket right here. Looked like it was just more of the same from the regular season. They drop it off to Avion Matthews there. Seaford 2-0. And it turned out that was their only lead of the game in this one. Watch the ball movement from Tower Hill.
That was a beautiful shot.
You just didn't see that from Seaford last night. Davis Bland on the 3 there. Then right here, it's Marty Coyne. And Tower Hill was 7 of 13 from beyond the arc in this one. Even if Seaford was guarding them, Tower Hill was still making the trays. And you know what? It's because of the length on the Tower Hill team.
And with shooting like that, it's almost impossible to lose. And you saw Brent Ricketts doing everything he could. He only finished with 10 points in that game. Seaford got behind by 8 early, and they were behind double figures the rest of the half. And they got a great ride with this one in terms of their season. They go to the Final Four, but they fall short of their ultimate goal.
It's been a long season. We've overcome a lot of obstacles. many that you guys don't know about. Having a good group of young guys with guys, outside influences picking at them, they did a good job for the most part of sticking together. We just didn't play well tonight, though.
Man, I absolutely loved watching this Seaford team this year. I know they are upset. They were very upset in the post-game locker room after this one. And you know what? They're also upset at me for saying that I like the Dover squad more than them. But you know what? They did show us a lot this year. I absolutely love this Blue Jays roster. You know what? It looked like Tyrese Fortune. He did play in this game, but he did not start in this game, their senior leader, and he was wearing a knee brace, so I don't think he was at 100% in this one. I think that really altered things for the Seaford offense. But this clearly wasn't the same team we've been used to throughout the playoffs. We're used to seeing them score 70 points in a contest. They weren't sharing the ball like we're used to them sharing it. But you know what? This Tower Hill team, very, very tough. Seaford was able to beat Tower Hill in their own gym back in December by 14 points. You got to think that maybe coming up to the Bob Carpenter Center, different venue, the spotlight on them, maybe that played a difference. The loss of Tyrese Fortune's health in this one played maybe a difference in this one, but Tower Hill was just more disciplined.
And that's something that I wanted to touch on in terms of just discipline. I actually thought just for the whole year in a macro sense, the Blue Jays I was really impressed by the coaching staff from the Blue Jays in terms of leading the boys. They always made really good adjustments. It's just that last game, it didn't happen, as you mentioned, might have been because due to some injuries or maybe just being in front of those big bright lights at the Bob Carpenter Center. But they knew during the season what teams you needed to attack on the inside and other teams that you needed to go outside to snipe from, and going 16-4 during the regular season and winning the Henlopen South and going farther in the states than Dover did. So that's nothing to hold your heads down for. And me personally, again, they're regional champion, semifinal appearances. Me personally, when I played high school basketball over a decade ago, I'm aging myself. We went to states and lost in the semifinal, but we won regionals as well. And at the time, it was hard. I didn't care about the regional title. I wanted a state title. But then looking back, I'm very impressed of what me and my teammates did. So I think that's something that looking down the line, them and Y High will be able to say we didn't win states, but we did win regionals, which was still
exactly. Looking back, it'll put more perspective in it. But they're a very young team. Brent Ricketts just a junior, so this team will be back next year. We'll see if they can get back to the Bob Carpenter Center. All right, let's move over to the girls' side now. Our last and best Henlopen teams, Woodbridge and Cape, fell in the DIAA quarterfinals.
Woodbridge fell by 10 points. You see on your TV right there to the top-seeded Caravel, who
won the championship.
Who ended up winning the whole thing. So that is also a very congrats to Caravel, but also congrats to Woodbridge on a very impressive season. And Cape Henlopen, as you see, was blown out by second-seeded Sanford, who Caravel beat in the championship game. Now, it's a disappointing end to both of their seasons, but the regular seasons were very good. Cape won the conference championship for the second year in a row and the third time in 4 seasons. Woodbridge had multiple impressive victories and fought tooth and nail against the state champs. So congrats to both of these teams for their years.
Yeah, and there was a fantastic title game between Caravel and Sanford tonight. That game went to overtime. Caravel able to win their first girls basketball title in school history.
Wow.
All right, that'll do it for the A block. We're taking a commercial break, but when we return, we've got a local athlete spotlight when we come back with After the Whistle. Don't go anywhere. That and more when Delmarva Sports Insider returns.
My name is Jay Freeman. I'm with Wycomico Boys Basketball, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.